Good evening and welcome to the June 3rd edition of the Gold, Goats, and Guns Hour here on YouTube and DLive. My name is Tom Luongo. As always, I hope everybody had a great weekend, and I hope everything in your life as well. We've got a lot to talk about tonight, and I want to talk about gold. I want to talk about crypto. I want to talk about a lot of things money related. We haven't talked about a lot of that stuff recently. We've been doing a lot of heavy politics, and of course, we'll probably touch on anything from Brexit to the EU to trade war insanity and the whole rest of it. But before we get started, as always, I should, kind of go through the bona fides and all that stuff. So you can follow me over at tomluongo.me. There are links down below in the description if you haven't. If you like what you hear today, please give a like and subscribe down below. It would be really great. As well as you can support not only the stream, but my work in general by visiting strategicculture.org, where I've got the lead article for the day right now, as well as moneymarkets.com. You can also sign up for my Patreon over patreon.com/gold, goats, and guns, where I put out a monthly investor newsletter for retail level investors and to try and help them navigate and make sense of what's going on in the world. So without further ado, let's get on to the remarks of the evening. Again, like I said, I hope everybody had a great weekend. So, because I know that as a long-suffering gold bull, the last couple of days of May, it's almost like 7 days in May or something, whatever. The last couple of days of May were pretty impressive, and they were a lot of fun. So last Thursday, I never discount timing in markets and timing in the way things unfold. Thursday morning, Donald Trump comes out of the blue and yells at Mexico and says, we're putting an escalating 5% per month tariff on Mexico if they don't get control of their border. Like it's all Mexico's problem here. It's insane because, of course, the problem, is that Trump can't get a border wall past his opposition in the House, and therefore he now needs to blame somebody else in order to kick off his re-election campaign for 2020 and prove to his base that he still cares about immigration. Maybe he still cares about illegal immigration. I know that the legal immigration status numbers are through the roof. So, but in response to this, I'm going to try and move the microphone out of the way to free up my hands because, after all, I am Italian. So in response to this, most people didn't see it because most people don't want to see these things. But when you watch markets the way I do, and I watch certain markets very, very closely, and I don't watch markets with the same intensity of a lot of market professionals, some of whom are in the audience tonight, but I've got too much going on. But I do watch very specific markets and watch their interplay pretty sincerely, and I watch them every day that they're trading, and I watch their opens on Sunday afternoon. I watch all of this stuff, and there's just 6 or 7 markets that are very, very important because they're really kind of the foundational markets to everything. With the U.S. bond markets, the Dow, the DAX, the German DAX, gold, silver, oil, copper, the euro, the British pound, the dollar index, Chinese yuan. I also look at a few other markets as well, but those are the ones that I usually keep tabs on at least 2 or 3 times during the day. And if something in the relationship between those things, breaks out, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then usually I'll talk about it in my private podcast for my subscribers on either Wednesday, which I do every Wednesday morning, every Sunday morning. But this is a long preamble that gold moved immediately after Trump made this announcement on Thursday. It had been languishing in the mid 1270s, 1265, 1270, 1280. It really wasn't doing anything. Earlier in the week, there was a note from a Wells Fargo analyst saying, I don't really know that gold is still any good as a safe haven asset anymore because it's not responding to what's going on. He's, of course, neglecting because the yield curve is dropping like a rock. The U.S. Treasuries are getting, the whole of the yield curve is getting bought like mad in a safe haven play while stocks are falling, but gold wasn't moving with them. Well, gold wasn't moving with them because the dollar was moving up at the same time. Okay, and gold doesn't move in lockstep. It's not a pair trade here that stocks down, bonds up, gold up. It's not like a friggin' pair trade or anything. Gold's a very, very, very complicated market. It responds to a number of different things and for a number of different reasons. And it's an incredibly difficult market to make any make any sense of. And I also question anybody's bona fides and the fact that, frankly, Wells should fire this guy because he's a complete idiot if he doesn't understand the gold market well enough to understand that gold doesn't rally when the dollar is illiquid. Doesn't matter what bonds are doing. People are moving into bonds not because they're afraid of a recession. They're moving into bonds because they need collateral. And it means asset chains are breaking. It means carry trades are unwinding. It means all sorts of weird things are happening. And none of those things are necessarily a pair trade with gold. Now, for example, though, every once in a while, gold does pair up with something. And it's a very simple binary trade. And a lot of people can like make good money advising, make their bona fides, even make their career just by noting, one relationship that lasts for, in gold's case, maybe 12 to 18 months, and then it evaporates. And for example, after Donald Trump was elected, gold did move in lockstep, almost tick for tick with the dollar, inverse to the dollar, and in lockstep up with the euro. And that was a great trade for a long time. And all you had to do if you wanted to be, whatever gave you better leverage, that's you could, relative to gold, you could trade it and you would, you knew exactly what to do. But that relationship broke down a while ago. And that relationship broke down the minute there was no more of a relationship between the inflow and outflow on the Fed's balance sheet for interest on for the excess reserves, which were being mobilized. And as that number rose and fell, so did the price of gold. There was a relationship between those two things for about 9 months. So again, I watch all this stuff all the time. I chart this stuff on a regular basis. I chart the Fed's balance sheet in a very complex way. I do all this stuff. So, and gold hasn't really been responding to anything for a long time now. And the main reason why gold hasn't been responding is simply because it's not ready to break above the post-Brexit vote high of 2016, around $13.75 an ounce. It's made 4 or 5 attempts to get past it. And every time it's been thoroughly rebuffed because at this point, 95% of the people who comment on gold do not understand gold. They don't understand it and they never will. And they don't understand Bitcoin for exactly the same reason. And most of the comments I'm going to make about gold are also applicable to Bitcoin. Not to all crypto assets, mind you, but to Bitcoin in particular. So if gold doesn't respond to inflation or recession or this or interest rates or any of these other things, I've heard everybody I've ever talked to, every market professional I've ever talked to, and every person I've ever talked to about gold, it gives me a different opinion about what gold actually responds to. And I nod my head and I go, okay, fine. Because I used to write for Seeking Alpha all the time. I would interact with market professionals all the time who told me I was, and more often than not told me I was full of shit. Of course, they were always wind up being wrong. Because what gold honestly responds to, only one thing. It responds to a loss of confidence in the government that issues the currency that is trading against. So if there's a loss of confidence in the Turkish government, gold breaks out versus the Turkish lira. Now, everybody's focused in the United States, and most of the Western press are always focused on the dollar price of gold, not any other price of gold. Right? They're not interested in the euro price of gold. I am. I'm also interested in like the yen price of gold, the yuan price of gold, and the ruble price of gold. I care about these things because it matters. It tells you whether or not gold is in a bull. But gold's always in a bull market somewhere because someone's currency is getting trashed. Okay? So the real question is, when we talk about a new bull market in gold, we talk about a secular bull market where gold is moving against every currency. Does not matter what currency you're talking about. It could be the Thai baht. It could be the US dollar. It could be the Hungarian forint or the Polish zloty or the Vietnamese dong. It's always moving up against the Vietnamese dong because that currency is a piece of shit. I did see FN based that Bitcoin just got crushed about 10%. I just noted a couple of minutes ago. And we're going to talk about that as well. But Bitcoin was also ready for a good solid correction after a, by the way, 16-week uptrend. So don't cry for me, Bitcoin, right now. So Trump makes this announcement. Gold pops. $10. Went from 1375 to, from 1275 to about 1284 or something like that. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. It's getting out of the doldrums. Because up until that moment, it was looking like it wanted to break down below 1260, which would imply even more dollar illiquidity and would imply even more financial stress, core stress in the financial markets and in like the global banking system. And then it just kept, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. And I'm so kind of inured to the downward price action of gold. I didn't check it for a few hours. I went back, wrote an article, putzed around, played a little World of Warcraft, talked to my daughter, yada yada yada. Did that stuff, came back, and boom, it was at 1300. I looked at it later that night. It was at 1300. I'm like, holy shit. Next morning, I wake up and it's at 1315, and I'm writing an article for Money and Markets, or actually, frankly, rewriting an article because my publisher over there didn't buy the first article that I sent them. So then I'm like, all right, well, that's cool. That's fine. I published it on my blog, and I'm like, give me a couple of hours, and then burped him up an article on gold. And that's perfectly reasonable. That's his prerogative, right? So I'm good with that. So burped up another article on gold. It's up there on the website now. Gold is caught in the political crossfire. Gold is always caught in the political crossfire. And right now, part of the reason why gold is acting the way it is, and the reason why it can't get through 1375, but then again, every time it corrects at shallower and shallower levels. In 2015, it corrected $300, and or 2016, it corrected $250, and then it was $150 in 2017 and 2018, and then this year it was $90. And all of a sudden, boom, it's already moved $70 in the last 3 trading days. So from Thursday to today, gold has gone from 1275 to around 1330. Now, I can't show you the chart because I'm not going to go through that process tonight. But just understand that anything above 1304 was a big light bulb for me. And then pushing through 1310 or so without even trying. Like, it wasn't even there. Like, the bears didn't even put up a token amount of resistance around 1310. It was just bolted right through it. And opened at 1311 yesterday afternoon, and then bolted to 1330 today. There's a very good chance that gold is going to challenge 1350 in the next 24 to 48 hours, which is the previous high for this year. And then if that falls quickly, then there's something up. That there's a massive change in sentiment surrounding gold. And personally, I think it's finally everybody waking up to the fact that Trump is an absolute freaking crazed lunatic. That he can't go 24 hours at this point without sanctioning somebody, or I don't know, his colon backs up or some shit. It's like I don't understand what's going on with him. But he's absolutely, since the Mueller report came out, since the investigation ended, Trump feels he's got the political capital to go frickin' ape shit on everything he wants to go ape shit on. He's doing it, and the market up until this point was in denial. Stock markets were in denial, the bond markets were in denial, everybody was in denial. But if you look at the rate at which the United States yield curve the United States lending rates have dropped in the last month, it's insane. So at some point, gold has to make a choice. It's been caught in this crossfire between dollar illiquidity on one side and safe haven store of value. Oh my God, the fucking EU banking system is teetering on the edge of oblivion because, oh, by the way, Deutsche Bank is trading at about $6 right now. You put those two things together, and gold's in like a tug of war. And that tug of war has been going on now for like a year and a half. Okay? At the same time, central banks are freaking out going, Trump's weaponizing the dollar in a way that no one in their right mind would ever think would be rational. He's going to he's making Herbert Hoover look like a free trader, for fuck's sake. Holy Christ. So I think at that point, everybody realized this isn't Kansas anymore. Xi and Trump aren't going to meet on the sidelines of the G20 and sign a trade deal real quick. This isn't ending. He just burned the USMCA, right? He just burned NAFTA 2.0. He just burned it. Mexico's not going to ratify that crap now. So But Tim Cutler's reminding me that TLRTO repayments are next week, and that's a big deal as well. And that may be something about this. I was talking to a couple of people about this, and they mentioned that there's a reason, there's another reason behind the scenes in terms of the EU market, maybe putting some upward pressure on gold, and that's very possible. And I'm not gonna argue that point or anything, but I think it's just as much this dawning realization, because at this point, I think gold is more of a retail investor issue than it is anything else. Okay, there are no big family offices out there buying shit tons of gold. Okay, it's a central bank play at this point, and it's really for retail investors that are trapped and can't move money across borders. Because for the most part, you're not allowed to move your money across borders anymore, and you certainly can't move more than $10,000. And try moving $10,000 worth of gold through Miami International Airport. Yeah, what do you think those metal detectors are for? Okay. So, Trump seems like an unfunny version of Rufus T. Firefly. For those of you who don't have gray hair, that would be the Marx Brothers. It's a Duck Soup, right? I think Rufus is from Duck Soup, right? God, I haven't watched them in a few years now, so I can't remember. So it's important. I know this stuff is kind of like weird and technical, and we normally talk, geopolitics and all this stuff, but it is important. Okay, we don't talk about this stuff nearly often enough. I don't spend enough time explaining to you just how much I know about these markets. The movement in gold here is very interesting because it could easily be the beginning of the next bull market in gold. We haven't seen this kind of movement in this short a period of time in a long time. Okay? Except maybe off a spike bottom. So you have to kind of understand that at this point, once gold breaks through 1375, okay, it will have been building a base for over 3 years to this point, and really 4. When you count the 2015 low is the low of the bear market, and then from that point on, it's been this, dance with an annual attempt at getting through 1375. And then correcting back to ever higher and higher levels. That's usually, and those are the central banks coming in and supporting the price at higher levels. This is not, believe me, the banks are not doing doing gold any favors here. Okay, so, and again, I'm not going to truck in, like gold conspiracy theory stuff. Look, there's everybody has an incentive to manipulate the gold market, both long and short. Okay, it just is what it is. But understand that at the end of the day, gold is a currency like everything else. It trades like a currency. It trades like a forex pair. And for that reason, and that reason alone, you have to consider it that kind of asset. Because if you try and consider it as something else, you're going to get it wrong every freaking time. You'll get it right in the long run. If you're just going to buy and hold for, an entire lifetime, yeah, you're going to get it right. Gold's going to go up over the course of your lifetime. There's no doubt about that. But if you're trying to, in any way, manner, shape, or form, understand what's actually happening at any moment in time so that you can make intelligent decisions about when to buy and, depending on your proclivities, when to sell. I happen to look at my personal gold reserves are literally my retirement fund. So I don't know why I would sell them per se until that time comes when, if there's a spike in the price of gold that's unsustainable, I will sell. So there's a lot going on in this market. A lot of what's happening in Bitcoin is very, very similar. Bitcoin is a reserve asset the same way that gold is. It's a savings asset. It's a store of value asset. And it has something that has something at this point that gold doesn't have. It has geographical freedom. So, and there's a place for both of those things in any kind of hard money asset allocation, period. I think that the gold bugs who sit around on zero hedge all day circle jerking themselves, and many of whom are, you know, ecstatic over Trump's trade war, you know, and they're angry at Bitcoin. They're angry at Bitcoin because gold has failed them while Bitcoin has made people billionaires. Because they don't understand it and they don't want to understand it. It's one thing to not understand something and then not want to invest in it because you don't understand it. And it's another thing to be angry with it and envious of it because you're too much of a fucking retard to understand what Bitcoin actually is and how it's complementary to gold. And maybe in this day and age, better than gold. And in many ways, I think it is. So, again, not talking every crypto asset. At this point in time, Bitcoin. So, by the way, I'm not missing any of your comments. You don't have to repeat them. I'm going to go back through and get to them as we go along here. So, I just want to make sure I get my opening remarks out here. It's very important to understand that the move in Bitcoin, for example, off the low at 3,500, that then, you know, hit around $5,000. Well, that wasn't all that interesting because the breakdown was from 6,000 to 4,000 and drifted to 3,500. And then, you know, a little short covering will take Bitcoin back to $5,000 with no problem. The fact that it kept going all the way to 9,000, taking a lot of other assets with it along the way, that's a different story. That's not a short-term pump and dump. That's something different. It's the same thing that can happen here in gold. Any move through 1375 is the beginning of a secular bull market in gold across all currencies as everybody looks out over the political landscape and goes, holy shit, these people are insane and they're stupid and they're morons and they have no fucking clue as to what to do. And that's when it starts. That's all it takes. And then the run will begin. Okay? And of course, those that want to keep gold under that level, and they're everybody, both long and short, both the banks that don't want to be exposed for being a Ponzi scheme, and the Chinese and the Russians who are on the other side going, ooh, manna from heaven, pennies, please give me tons of gold for nothing. Thank you very much. But, you know, now everybody's joining in the party. Serbia's getting getting on the train now, along with Kazakhstan and Russia and China and India and Turkey and all the way up and down the line. So, all right, I'm going to go back through some of the comments now and try and get caught up. So So keep putting comments in, and I'll get to them as I go along. Ryu, I will never tell you where I buried my goat statues. Just not doing it. So Glenn Horowitz is saying, watch the kakistocracy fall all over themselves. If gold moves, if any moves hints at threatening the petrodollar to dump some absurd and impossible number of digital ounces in the market via high frequency trading. Yes, but we're not really in that mode at this point. They'll do that, and then those ounces will be bought right back up. They did that earlier in the year, okay? And they were only able to get it to come down $90. What if the Russian central bank is sitting there with an open order to buy 200 tons of gold? Okay, it's easy to dump $1 billion notional on the gold futures market and move the price $20. $1 billion in gold used to move the price $100. Now it moves at 10 or 15. They got to dump 2 billion or 3 billion in 4 seconds flat to even get it to drop $15. There's a reason for that. It's because the central banks keep moving their stops up, guys. Magazog failure says Bitcoin is garbage and you got to be crazy to mess with that stuff. Okay. I was there when it was 5 cents, dude. Okay. Telling you. Bitcoin's not going anywhere. And if you analyze it in terms of a digital currency versus any other currency, you would understand exactly what I'm talking about. But that's your prerogative. Feel free to not get on the bandwagon. More coins for us. I understand the people having lack of confidence. After 10 years, Bitcoin has confidence. When you stop to analyze Bitcoin, the mempool alone, the hashing power associated with it. I had this argument with Mike Shedlock last year, or in 2017. He kept saying it's going to drop to $1,000. I said, it could drop to $800. What's the value of Bitcoin? It has none. I'm like, it has in every way, and on every day in every way, it does, Mike. It may correct below the value of that of what it costs to mine a Bitcoin. That's only because of the way the protocol, the slow rate at which the protocol moves the difficulty to solve the equation up and down. But at the end of the day, you're wrong. Bitcoin is a store of value in the same way that anything else that is hard to obtain and is scarce has a store of value. But you can't argue with people who refuse to believe and who refuse to get it. I've been having the same arguments with people far more interested in Bitcoin failing. Remember, I used to argue with all of the heavyweights behind the scenes, here and there, of Austrian economics, and I'm the one who convinced most of them that Bitcoin wasn't full of shit back in 2010. 2011, they were asking. I mean, I still get emails every once in a while trying to have people explain this stuff. You need to talk to Tom. Tom understands this stuff because nobody did. Because nobody would read the fucking white paper and then do the math. It's not hard. I read the white paper the day I saw it. I'm like, holy shit, this is brilliant. Buy it. Mike Bernard said, that's the best explanation for gold price movement specific to a currency I've ever heard. It's a great point. Well, thank you very much, Mike. I've spent 15 years being wrong about gold. I spent about 12 years being wrong about gold. And I spent the last 6 being right. And it took me, finally understanding what Martin Armstrong was trying to say to get it. I resisted it for a couple of years. I made some mistakes because of it. If I had actually listened to Martin Armstrong, I probably would have sold 2/3 of my gold back in 2011. And would have picked it all back up again for half the price, and then I'd be a much, I'd have a lot less stress in my life had I done that. All right. Ryu, to remind you, I'm not a boomer. Only a Gen Xer has rage this well and finally honed. All right. FYI, if you guys don't know, all right, never mind. So Dragon Ross has asked me a couple times now, or mentioned a couple times, I'm going to need to deal with it. Tom, he says a lot of farmers will go bankrupt. Yes, they are. They're already going bankrupt. Trump's tariffs are insane. And if he's not careful, he's going to wind up, hurting the very people that he's supposed to be trying to help. But what else is new? And then he'll yell at China for subsidizing this, that, and everything else while he goes on a fucking tariff warfare, goes on a tariff binge, bankrupts all the farmers who now no longer have a freaking market for all their soybeans or their corn or this or that or anything else, and then he's going to turn around and subsidize them, and he calls the Chinese socialists. And his, and his MAGA-tards in flyover countries turn around and call them Chi-coms. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Were you born that way, or did you have to work really hard to become that fucking stupid? All right. Tim Cutler says fangs are down 10%. For those of you who don't know what fangs are, well, let's keep the T-fangs in there because Tesla's down even more than that. And that's just fucking hilarious. Watching Elon Musk have a nervous breakdown in public and then go bankrupt is going to be the most hilarious fucking thing I've ever seen, next to South Park, the movie. All right. The fangs are down 10% since May 15th. It's a leadership failure. You're absolutely right. I got a lot of commentary in my upcoming edition of the newsletter on this very issue, on the fangs and Silicon Valley and all of it. He literally wrote the article this afternoon. It's going to be very interesting. Yeah, Wezzy, I'm not stockpiling Japanese. Yeah, dude. Sell when Bitcoin is at 2K. Yeah, all right. No, I know. All right, so and Hayek, and then I know you're just you're teasing. All right, so let's see. Trump also tweeted that Russia told him they left Venezuela, while the Russian ambassador to Venezuela told him it's all fake news. I know that. Russians that haven't left Venezuela, they might have moved some people out, but the Russians do that regularly, in that they rotate people through. And the headlines are, Russians are moving a whole bunch of troops out. They didn't say that they're also moving the same number of troops back in 4 days later. Remember when Putin, 6 months after he moved people into Syria, there was a big announcement about him pulling all the planes out. That's what the Western press wanted you to believe. The Russians were just rotating rotating pilots and planes through is all they were doing. Uh-oh. William Justice, the pathetic retard, or pathetic loser, sorry, let me get that right, is in the House saying, so gold is beginning to realize its true value under President Orange Obama. Yes, he is. Yes, it is. Trump is now the catalyst for the complete breakdown of the global economy. Read and reap, dude. And I don't give a fuck. You can leave now. All right, the problem with Bitcoin is that everybody who would have produced easy-to-use killer apps got rich and lazy early. Now it is still the most valuable, versatile store of value ever, and will only get better. That's part of it. Actually, Hypatia, I both agree and disagree with you. There's going to be a lot of fat and lazy coders out there. There's going to be a lot of projects in the crypto market that are complete vaporware and complete horseshit. But then there are the projects that are driven by people, or run and driven by people who are driven by something a little bit more than money. And all they did during the bull market of 2016/17 is raise fuck tons more capital than they ever thought they would ever have. And therefore, they're sitting very pretty on very strong war chests to do seriously strong development. And I don't follow a lot of crypto projects. I don't fucking have time, nor do I have the patience to do so. But the ones I do follow, I understand. And I watch their development carefully. And their development has been nothing short of astonishing in what they're building. So, yeah, Bitcoin was overbought. And I was thinking, and we're still not done here. There's still very distinct. I have to look at the chart to see. I don't know. Did it break below 8,000? Because the last time I checked it was like 8150. A break below 8,000 would be bad, I think. Looking at the weekly chart or whatever. Hold on, I'll just do that real quick while we're sitting here, all fat and happy. Oh yeah, 79.90 is probably bad. Week, boom. Yeah, as of right now, it needs a correction. It needs a correction. Nothing below, say, 7. Even a retest of the 6,400 area wouldn't be bad, to be honest with you. It would be just perfectly reasonable. Which is the break, which would be the November, the area on the chart before the November breakdown down to 4,000. I'll move back to 63, 6,500, 6,600. Anything, if it never gets to 6,300 and breaks back down into the 7,000s and then busts higher again, it's all good. It's all good. Don't worry about it. So, let's see what we got. Yep. It's important. No, Ryu's getting on my case about the boomer/X thing. It is important. Donald Trump's a boomer. Halsey and I, we're Gen X, completely. All right. And there's a fundamental difference in our outlook in life. So, all right, let's, if I were a large bank, says El Vaquero, and I wanted to hurt/kill Bitcoin, I'd create a bunch of Bitcoin derivatives that outnumbered the actual Bitcoin and use it to manipulate the price. Well, El Vaquero, don't you realize that when I said this back in November 2017, when the Bitcoin futures first went live on the COMEX, Bull market, they're going to pump this, they're going to let this thing pump, and then they're going to fucking crush it within 60 days. That's exactly what they did. The whole point was to get the tail to wag the dog, not the futures market tail wag the dog. It was none of, because remember, the Bitcoin contract on the futures contract on the COMEX doesn't settle in Bitcoins, doesn't settle on the blockchain. It just settles in dollars. That's the key. Now there's another exchange that's going to be settling Bitcoin futures on the blockchain directly. That's different. So that's just like any other commodity futures contract where it's going to be settled with a transfer of actual product. You know, if you buy a contract for, you know, on oil futures on ICE, by the way, they deliver the oil to your house, or the soybeans, or the gold, and you got to pay for it along with the shipping. Okay, so just so you know, all right. Satoshi's white paper will blow your mind if you understand sound money and highly liquid store value demands, supply demand curves, and most importantly, the first and really only law of economics, the law of diminishing marginal utility. But that's what helped crush the market. But at the same time, it also helped to legitimize the market in ways, because now all of a sudden players could come in and not have to settle on chain, and there's a lot of other things going on. And so it's good and bad. At this point, it's just a matter of, I mean, honestly, it's just a matter of you know, markets trade on sentiment, and they don't trade on valuation. They trade on momentum and sentiment. So, you know, it is what it is. But there's a lot going on here, and I'm not gonna belabor too many points about Bitcoin in the short term, because I've got a lot coming up in the next issue of the newsletter about some technical stuff, some theoretic stuff about Bitcoin and where I think is going on with it, and what we should be doing about it. So. All right, I know I'm probably way behind on comments, so don't feel bad. The way China's government works these days, it better fits fascism than it does communism. Either way, it's still very collectivist. Well, the Chinese economy is no really different than ours. It really isn't. It's a fascist. It's a fascist command and control style economy. For everything important in the American economy, we have a fascist command and control style economy. For everything important. So is the term cryptocurrency a misnomer? Wouldn't it be better calling it crypto assets? Depends on what you're talking about. If you're talking about proof of work style coins, no. I think cryptocurrency works just fine. Crypto assets would then imply all of the other utility tokens and Ethereum and all that other stuff. Well, then it's crypto assets. And I do try to make distinctions between those two things, DNATs. So, but I think coins like Litecoin and Bitcoin and Dash and Monero, Zcash, and a few others, I think they're all coins. Ones that tokenize other forms of value, like Steam and BAT, Ethereum, almost everything that's built on Ethereum. All that stuff, those are all utility tokens. All ERC20 utility tokens that's a different story. I don't consider them currencies per se. I don't even consider things like, you know, Stellar or even Ripple as currencies. I think they're more simply utility tokens for facilitating cross-currency transfer than anything else. Yeah. Zoltan Bako says, just curious, Tom, you advocate for Tulsi Gabbard because of her strong anti-war stance. Now Bernie Sanders came out swinging an axe at the MIC. Would you vote for him as well as for the same reason? No, I wouldn't. Because I don't trust Bernie Sanders. Because Bernie Sanders caved to the friggin' DNC last year, 3 years ago. Because it went out and endorsed Hillary. He rolled over like a dog when they fucking bribed him. Because he's just a moldy old commie who wants his fucking Gibbs. That's why. So let's see, where else are we? Oh. Hey, Tom, do you think that Ron DeSantis agrees with the libertarians on anything? In theory, no, but he hasn't been terrible on a couple of things that I've seen recently. So DeSantis has been a better governor than I expected him to be. But, you know, I don't really give a crap because the Florida governor doesn't really have very much power anyway. Yeah, Ryu's right. There are Russian nuclear bombers. Well, no, I don't think those Tu-160s actually. I think they showed up in Venezuela, and I think they went home. I'm almost positive that those Tu-160s went home. But there's a lot of investment from the Russians and the Chinese there. They're protecting that investment. They're just not going to let Trump and Bolton play games in Venezuela. They're not going to let it happen. Yeah, 6,400 would be a good move down on Bitcoin. High accident. How do you value Bitcoin if the USD is destroyed in terms of itself or in terms of grams of gold? We've lived our entire lives with the US dollar as our benchmark. Well, I got news for you. In Thailand, people don't use the dollar; they use the baht, and they ask how many baht does this? I mean, yeah, the US dollar has been pernicious in that it's pernicious and universal in that it's spread all the way around the world, and everybody's always thinking in terms of the dollar value of their local currency versus everywhere else. And so much of the world is actually a dual or even tri-currency standard. Like Vietnam for years was the 3-currency standard until they dong, dollars, and gold. And there were literally 3 different lending rates. And you could, pay for things in gold up until the time when the Central Bank of Vietnam or the State Bank of Vietnam killed gold convertibility. But this happened somewhere around 2013, I think, if I remember correctly. But your valuation model in your head is based on the reinforcement of always seeing everything in terms of dollars and not seeing things in terms of ounces of gold or ounces of silver or some other instrument, right? And that will change the minute. I don't see that the dollar is going to go away. I just see that the dollar is going to have to go through a spike to the upside, and then that spike to the upside is going to cause a fucking phenomenal crash to the downside and a new monetary system to come into play. I don't know that the quote-unquote crypto economy is going to show up anytime soon. It may take another 10 or 15 years. It may take until the freaking Chinese, screw the pooch. I'm not convinced of that, mind you. I think the rate at which the crypto community is accelerating their development and their tools, I think is very impressive. And for that reason, during the monetary reset, I think you're going to see a lot of people switch very quickly, even as the governments try to get everybody on, KYC compliant, AML compliant, FATCA compliant, all this fucking shit. And at the end of the day, you're going to see coins and you're going to see assets valued based on their ability to get around all that shit and just do business. And at some points, the governments themselves and all their edicts will become become less relevant over time, right? In a failed state situation, no one gives a shit. During the 1990s, during a failed, in the failed state that was Russia, nobody gave a fuck what was happening and what decrees came out of Moscow. They didn't give a fuck. They went about their daily business, and that they use dollars or rubles or fucking use toilet paper for their currency. Well, they use fucking twigs for their currency and then and wipe their ass with 100 ruble notes. Well, that's what they did. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you're going to use whatever you have to use. Ryu says, I'm going to start my own cryptocurrency. I shall call it Bagel Coin. I wanted to start Goat Coin personally, but there it is. I just consider China, for example, Ryu, I just consider China to be a standard kind of, just a standard oligarchy, uniparty oligarchy with that still calls themselves communist as an anachronism. It's a plutocracy. It is what it is. And crony capitalism is fascism. Corporatism is fascism, by the way. It's all variations of fascism. How many fronts is Trump currently fighting on? I've lost count. India's involved now. And Australia. He's going to tear up Australia as well. Okay. Ryu's telling me that that the Tu-160s are still in Venezuela. I thought they had. I'm not checking my contacts or anything. I'm just misremembering news reports from a few months ago. That's all. So if they're still there, they're still there. Dragon M asks the most important question of the evening, actually. Tom, what do you make of China's threats to stop selling rare earths to the U.S.? What effect will that have? It's big. It would be the same as the Russians threatening to stop selling uranium to the United States for the same reasons, which they haven't done yet. And good for us. We still have, on average 12 to 13 cent a kilowatt hour electricity in the United States. But if that were to double, because all the natural gas backup generators have to come online, we would lose our baseload in the United States very, very quickly. We don't have the ability to source nuclear fuel on the open market. And therefore, without the Russians, we would have real problems. Same thing with China. It would disrupt supply chains for at least a year, if not two. And Trump is not going to be the man who broke Apple. Not if he wants to stay in power. So, the Chinese can do it, and if so, at some point, Trump will have to back down. What do I think is more evil, the euro or the US? Oh, the US dollar. I think the US dollar is more evil. Without a doubt. It's far more powerful. And it's used to destroy far more people's lives on a daily basis than the euro is. The euro is terrible for Europe. It's terrible for my people, Italians. But it's the dollar's king. But almost all of the fiat currencies are evil. Actually, all of them are. They're all bad. And they're all terrible for people. They're all terrible for people. They're all terrible for savers. Yeah, we want to tokenize my cat on the blockchain? I don't know. I don't know how much cow would actually bring in an ICO. A much less... why is what insane? Love is Cactus is asking, why is it insane? I guess Trump's tariff policy? I'm not sure. The U.S. economic model will drive up debts and eventually explode. The current U.S. model, the current tariff model will destroy dollar velocity even more. And while $10 trillion worth of non-government non-bank foreign corporate debt will explode in value and therefore destroy the freaking world economy, which we're a part of, by the way. And we won't have markets to export dollars to anymore, at which point interest rates rise here and pension funds here in the United States go busto. The federal deficit blows out to an unbelievable proportion. If you think $1.2 trillion is bad, wait till it's $3 trillion. We're going to get a reprieve for about 6 months to a year, maybe 18 months of falling interest rates here in the United States on safe haven capital flows. But once the European Union, and that will intensify once bond yields in Europe start to rise. Once the ECB is once some bond vigilante finally calls the ECB's bluff, and they've driven $10 trillion of debt into negative yields at this point. What if the governments buy all the Bitcoin by printing money? Good luck with that. They'll send the price of Bitcoin to $500,000 a coin. It'll turn it into a $10 trillion or $15 trillion asset pool. Fine. The people who then sold into that will then turn around and turn Litecoin into a $1 trillion market or $2 trillion market. Think about what you're saying. How many Bitcoins are out there? You think you can buy them all without moving the price? You think all of them are up for sale? They could print money until the cows come home and buy a bunch of it. I'm sure they are. I'm sure the CIA and the big banks and others are sitting on tons of it. I'm sure they're sitting on a couple of million. There are other blockchain assets. You have to realize that you can't stop an idea whose time has come. Why do you think I'm interested in other coins other than Bitcoin? If they buy up all the assets at that point, yeah, the miners will keep mining and they're going to get all the new rewards, because you can't stop the new rewards going into them unless they, the miners turn around and sell them. If they sell them to the governments, that's fine. And if the government eventually wants to, but they can't stop the protocol. And if it all looks like it's, not circulating, well, I got news for you. Scarcity plus high money velocity plus no supply equals an unbelievable spiral of price, an exponential explosion of price. It's exactly the perfect storm. And then it becomes more and more expensive to keep buying off the Bitcoin that are coming onto the market. Fine, eventually. So you want to kill Bitcoin by buying it all? Great. You spent a few $1 trillion doing it. You got to pay for that. How do you pay for that? They don't just print money, guys. They print debt, which they then have to service. If they just printed money, it would be one thing, but they don't. They print debt to go along with it. The reason the dollar is going to fail, the reason the euro is going to fail, the reason the yen is going to fail is because they go through the motion, they go through this fiction of selling debt that they're going to service in perpetuity and never default on. In order to buy up all of Bitcoin, they'd have to turn it into a $15 trillion asset. What are you going to do? Double the fucking debt overnight to stop Bitcoin? When Litecoin's sitting right around the fucking corner and everybody you sold to just turns right around, buys Litecoin or Ethereum or Dash or Monero or Zcash or Komodo or pick any number of fucking currencies, cryptos out there. There's a couple of thousand of them, by the way, to store value in. And there's at least 10 or 15 that are building blockchain, building pools of trust that over time will begin to rival what Bitcoin looked like. If you look at the blockchains that are 3 and 4 years old now and compare them to when Bitcoin was 4 years old, you'd realize that they're far in advance of where Bitcoin was at age 4. Bitcoin's 10 years old. Servicing debt will be easy with NERP. Exactly. Winning! I love it, Tenjin. Fucking brilliant. Comment of the night, dude. Without a doubt. Let's see. What do we have? Tom, when will the balkanization of the USA starts? If you are still around, where are you going? I keep asking. Martin Armstrong keeps asking the very salient question, and I would only go with him on this. What happens after Trump? If they're playing the Imperial March in London as Trump's plane is landing at Heathrow or wherever he landed today, they did that. They played the fucking Beefeater Orchestra, or whatever the hell they're called. The National Orchestra of the UK played the fucking Imperial March as Trump was landing or debarking his plane today. Okay? If they can do that now, if they're so fucking crazy now, the Democrats in the House just want to impeach Trump because they have the power to impeach him. They don't actually think they're going to get anywhere. Even fucking Adam Schiff for brains admitted that finally. They're not going to win an impeachment, but they have to do it as a matter of moral imperative. Okay. Fuck you. Whatever. Fine. If you want to waste... Look, I'd rather them waste their time impeaching Trump than passing fucking laws. Okay? Than trying to pass more gun bans or passing fucking laws underneath the table that, make it impossible for people to, walk across the street without genuflecting to a tranny or some shit like that. I mean, that's what we're getting to at this point. Okay? I'm fucking tired of this bullshit. So I don't really care. So if they're doing that, that's great. Because they're not fucking other shit up as well as they're going along. So, a long way around, ask yourself the question, if they're this crazy now in 2019, what the fuck does it look like in 2024? Who do the Democrats put up for president in 2024? Because, Pikachu is looking really strong from the Democratic perspective at this point, okay? I mean... Really? Who the fuck wants to be president after Trump? If this is the way our politics is going to be. Who the fuck wants that job? I don't. And no halfway reasonable person will either. So the big question you have to ask is, yes, I mean the March from the Empire Strikes Back. Dum, 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 dum. Yeah, they played the fucking Imperial March. So, if that's the case, Why do you think I won't be around? The only way I won't be around for the balkanization of the United States is if I have a fucking heart attack between now and then. That's it. Or I, contract Ebola or some shit. Last I checked, there's no Ebola in North Florida. So, I don't know. I get run over by a bus, stoned to death by angry SJWs. I don't know. I mean, it's certainly not going to be for my health. I'm only 51 years old. I firmly believe it will happen well within my natural lifetime. Ryu 6 says in 2024, AOC will be the Dems nominated candidate. Like I said, Pikachu. Are you fucking kidding me? Explain to me the difference between that stupid fucking cunt and Pikachu. Because I'm having a hard time. The Imperial March video was a fake? Oh, I certainly hope so. Ebola, currently on half-price special offer in Florida. No! Seriously, what the hell comes after Trump? Okay, what comes after Trump? Because, dude, and where am I going after that? Okay, there's only... Pikachu is more useful. Has more free will than AOC. That's the difference. The Elvacaro, you guys are killing it now. It's like, holy shit, we're gonna cruise right into the end of the stream tonight. Halsey's in the house and he says AOC thinks Ebola should be subsidized by the government. Oh yeah, I mean, it needs universal basic. We need universal basic income for all viruses. Yes, absolutely. UBI and free healthcare and free education, and we should yeah. She is. I'm allowed to use that word. I might get me banned off of fucking YouTube. I give a fuck at this point, but whatever. I don't care. All right. So, where am I going? Well, I'll burn that bridge when I come to it. And it will certainly happen well before we ever get to that point. But I keep telling Camille, I'm like, fucking Viktor Orban gets it. I could learn Hungarian. So I'm going to be writing more about that this week when I read a really great interview with him this morning, thanks to one of my Baker Street irregulars that send me stuff on a regular basis. You guys, by the way, if you see stuff that you think I'd be interested in, you're more than welcome to email it to me or DM me on Twitter or whatever. I do check my Twitter feed regularly. I don't tweet much, but I do check it regularly. Universal Basic Pikachu. Everybody needs a Pikachu. What is wrong with you? So yeah, some of the things that that Orban is doing now in his economic plan to save Hungary is really quite impressive. So just to give you a preview of what I'm going to be writing about later in the week, once I finish the newsletter, which is tomorrow. I have to write this month's editorial tomorrow. I'm not sure what it's going to be on. Maybe I'll be on on the Pikachu-ness of AOC. I'm not really sure now. We'll see. So, Contrarian Dude Channel predicts 15K Bitcoin next summer and 150 in 2021. Realistic? Ugh. Sure. Honestly, at this point, I will put any number on Bitcoin, depending on what happens with the global economy and when. And I will put an upper limit on gold somewhere between 7,000 and 10,000. All right. So yeah, I don't know where I'm going. And Halsey, I would be short Bitcoin right now, or at least I would have been about 4 hours ago. Are you short Boeing? No, I'm not actually short anything in reality right now. I do have, other than what assets I have holding. I generally just either put my stuff in I just play currencies, right? I just move money back and forth between various currency assets and dollars, and that's what I do. I don't trade on the open market. McAfee needs $500,000 or $1 million in 2020 to save his member. Well, you know, I just hope he does it, you know, on YouTube so that it can get demonetized. I'm not short Boeing, but you should be. Or I haven't looked at the chart recently to see what it's corrected to, so I can't really say that with any certainty. But I can tell you that you can continue to short Tesla to zero. So, but the point to go back to Rio's question, this will be the last thing I do for the evening, is to say that wherever I go, if we decide to leave the United States, and one of the things that I'm committed in many ways to staying exactly where I am, for my wife's parents. And that's more important at this point. But if that responsibility was off of our heads, or it got acute to the point where we're like, no, we really need to do something about this. They're gonna force my daughter to, like, you know, graft a penis. They're gonna force to graft a penis on my daughter so that she can know what it's like to. No, they'd never do that. Never mind. She's already the right sex. So super male vitality stand. I'm going to some place where culture is reasserting itself as opposed to culture falling into the crapper. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I don't know where that is. I don't necessarily know where that is, but it's going to be where culture is reasserting itself. And where culture is still strong. And wherever that is, I'll consider it. Okay? Ryu, if you were to make a town on the moon called Bagel Town, I'd be there. I know how to make bagels. I'm good at it. I like bagels. I shouldn't eat them. So, and I'm sure that they would puff up even more than they do in 1/6 gravity. So they'd be even like lighter. Russia is one possibility, Thorium, so is Hungary. A few other places that I thought about, but that's... I don't know. I don't know that they let me into Poland. I write way too many complimentary things about Putin. So, anywhere east of the old Iron Curtain. A lot of nice places there. I could be the mayor of Bagel Town. Oh, fucking yes. Dude, I've always wanted to be a mayor of something. And I always thought it was going to be the mayor of... I am the mayor of Outer Luangolia. Though Camille's really the power behind the throne. So. Sicilian culture will never change. No, I got a great idea. I got a great bargain for you. Just, don't... it would be a shame if, something bad would happen while you were away. It's not a problem. Do I know Russian? I knew a little bit of it in college. I'd have to brush up. But there will be no Gulch. There will be no Gulch for me. I've already tried that shit. It doesn't work. All right. You're saying New Amsterdam is dirking with bicycles. I love it. All right, guys. All right. This has been fun. I've enjoyed it tonight. I hope you guys did too. So, as always, you can find me at tomluongo.me if you like what you heard tonight. Even if you didn't like what you heard tonight. Bang the bell and the subscribe button and all that stuff, because I may eventually say something that you do like. Because I've been known to piss everybody off and it make everybody laugh. So, doesn't really matter. All right. You'd be good. Oh, by the way, as always, if you can make a donation, that would be great. You can do so by PayPal. Crypto addresses are down below, as is. You can please really consider getting off the Google train. Go ahead and install Brave. Use it as one of your main browsers. It doesn't work perfectly for everything. It's very aggressive in stopping scripts in Java, and certain pages don't load properly, but that's fine. It works brilliantly, and the system to earn tokens that you can then support your favorite publishers on the internet and get them on the network so that we can break down this ridiculous and insanely overweening technological bureaucracy that we and and oligarchy that we have. And that has to start somewhere. It has to start now. All right, you guys take care. You have a great evening. We will talk soon. Keep your stick on the ice.